Hi, Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. For nearly 30 years, I've been focused on helping advisors become the best both personally and professionally. This show is dedicated to sharing with you tools, tips, strategies, distinctions, things that are working now. I'd love for you to take a moment, and if you're watching this on YouTube, click the like button and also the subscribe button so you get automatic updates. And if you happen to be listening to us on a podcast, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast and you leave a positive review for us. Now, with that said, let's get to today's episode. Hi, this is your coach, Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, first off, let me say happy holiday season greetings. Hope you're enjoying your downtime here at the end of 2021 and that you're getting ready for a stellar, a bigger, brighter, and bolder 2022. Now, if you're sitting here saying, what is he talking about, resting and downtime? We're going to save that for another episode. What I want to do today is really continue our conversation. The last several episodes, we've been talking about business planning, strategic planning. And what I want to do today is kind of just walk you through how I like to do it, how I help all my clients do it, the different elements of it, right? And also, just a couple days ago, my wife and I, Marissa, who's my business and life partner, we were up in Amelia Island at the Ritz-Carlton, and we did our own little personal 3-day strategic planning retreat. So the first thing I'm going to say is that if you're going to think outside the box, if you're going to think bigger, bolder, brighter for your future, do not do it sitting in the office. Do not do it where you are typically or what we call in your tactical environment, okay? That it will not be inspiring. You'll probably get distracted. I use the word seduced with some mundane things, right? So you want to pick a place. Now for us, we drove 2.5 hours from our home in Melbourne, Florida, went up, picked a beautiful location. The vibe I was looking for, even though the weather, sucked, quite frankly, we still had a very, very powerful 3-day experience. So even if you're doing this on your own, now does that mean you have to go to get hotels? No, you can go a couple hours a day somewhere local, right? So maybe it's a library, maybe it's Starbucks, maybe it's a park, right? Maybe it's even like a room in your house that just feels good to you. That's fine too. You just don't want to do it in your normal tactical environment. That's the first thing, okay? Now, as far as the actual process goes, I'm going to walk you through mine. And what I'm going to do, and I know we have a lot of podcast listeners and we have some YouTube people. So what I'm doing here on the video, I'm showing really all the steps. But I'm going to talk about each one for a minute or so and tell you why why each step is so important. It's done in a very methodical, systematic approach because in my experience of doing this for 20 years, this is what works. So the first thing we always want to talk about, and so hear me out on this. The challenge that most advisors / human beings have with setting goals is that they set a goal in what I call a vacuum. And what do I mean by that? Is they'll come up with, let's just say an economic goal. I want to make X amount of dollars this year. They write it down. And that's it. That's about as far as they go with goal setting. And to me, there's so many different elements inside of what we do. One of the major, to me, the foundational part of success is mindset, right? Is understanding this wonderful mechanism that sits inside of your cranium, right between the ears, right under the skull. And it's a mystery to even science for the most part. But let's face it, if you don't have control over it, if your mindset's not right, all bets are off when it comes to not just creating a plan, but actually going to do the work to execute. Matters most. So the first thing I do with my process, is we take inventory. We call it MyOS, my OS, or my operating system, our code for mindset. And what we're going to do is we're going to take inventory of how you are currently as of today. So we're going to talk about your beliefs, your values, the rules associated to your values, okay? We're going to talk about your internal dialogue, what you say to yourself, your self-image, the man or woman in the mirror, and then we're also going to talk about your 6 human needs, the most important drivers. We're going to have you take current inventory of it as you are today, okay? Understanding, and we're not going to get into this in the context of this conversation, that was put together in a very happenstance manner. You didn't sit down as an advisor and say, okay, what do I believe as an advisor? What are my beliefs around success, failure? What's important to me? Like, those are just conversations most quote unquote normal human beings don't have. Well, we have those conversations here. So that's milestone 1. The second thing we're going to do, we're going to go and say, okay, well, this is where we are today, understanding that if we want a bigger, brighter, bolder future, we can't have the same mindset today as we do in the future. We've got to change it. The key element here is we're going to change it in a very, very systematic way and in a very intentional way. Like I said, Miles 1, current mindset, was cobbled together. Miles 2, we take you through a process. I lead you through this process. What do you want your beliefs to be? What do you want to value? What are your rules? What do they need to be, right? What do you need to have your internal dialogue say to you? What do you need to see in the mirror, right? And your human needs. We do this with intentionality. That's what, by the way, this is what makes what I do different than anybody else in the space. Is we spend time, a lot of times, in fact, the first thing we do is we lay the foundation for success with a shift, an elevation, a new mindset. Okay, next, we're going to do gratitude and goal setting. So what I do is I'm going to take you, as if you're a client, I'm going to teleport you via video to a beach in Fort Lauderdale. And we're going to spend time we're doing a gratitude exercise, and then what we call a sunrise goal setting workshop. And that, again, we do, I did it when we did our retreat here. Rich and I, we do that. Now, so that's kind of, so again, mindset, right? Goals, gratitude. Now we're going to start breaking it down. And we break it down to 3 different chunks. We talk about a tenure, so a decade out. So hear me. We do goals for a decade. Right, so 10 years out, we go then break it down to a 3-year window, and then we break it down to a 1-year window. Now, inside of all these windows, 10, 3, 1, we're doing personal goals, business goals, we're doing bucket lists, and as we get closer down, like the 10 years is going to be more 50,000, maybe even 75,000 foot view, right? We're not going to get into a level of detail there a decade out, but we're going to set the course. We're going to set the direction that we want to go. Critically important. And then when we break it down to the 3-year, we're going to get a lot more tactical, right? In terms of KPIs, assets, households, top line revenue, what the team needs to look like, what our marketing looks like, what our bucket list is going to be, our personal goals. Like, we really, really break it down there. And then what you end up with is a nice, tight, what we call 1-year operating game plan, right? Where you're going to have your top business goals and your top personal goals. You're going to have those really not just written out, but like I said earlier, when we started our conversation, people write a goal, right? Hey, what's the goal? And that's it. So here's what we do. So let's just say, and I'm just going to pick something just random. Let's say one of your goals is you want to do between $1 million and $1.25 million of top line revenue in 2022, as an example. So you're going to write that out. My goal in 2022 is between X and Y. Now, why do we do X and Y? And by the way, for most of my goals that I have my clients set, we look for ranges. Minimum acceptable, and then the big, hairy, scary brass ring. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to announce we're going to do it. So we get the range. Now look, now becomes the work. A lot of you think the work is setting the goal. That's the easy part. Here's where the work matters. Question number 1. Why is this goal a must for you? Now, notice the word must. Not like to, hope to, let's see what happens. That doesn't get it done. Why is this a must? That's question number 1. Question number 2. Who do you need to become in order to pull this off? So, like we talk about mindset. If you set brand new, bigger, brighter, bolder goals in the future, but you take your old mindset, your current mindset with you, ain't going to happen. Just doesn't. There has to be a shift. There has to be an elevation. There has to be an evolution inside of your mindset in order to execute your goals. So we need to get that laid out, okay? Next, so who do we need to become, right? And then we talk about, who do you need? So in other words, we call it the who's, right? So who do you need to become and who do you need? Do you need to go hire a coach? Do you need a junior advisor? Do you need different, what does the team, what do you need to surround yourself with in order to pull this off? I mean, these are critical questions, right? Now, the how we're going to pull it off, right? The how. So that gets into what I call the recipe. So, if we're going to go between 1 million and 1.25, so what do we need? Hey, we need to go get between 12 and 18 new clients. We need to raise between 8 and $12 million of fee-based assets. We need to do X amount of financial plans, core product, whatever the recipe is going to be, right? And that's going to be obviously very situational to, again, your situation. But you're going to come up with a recipe, because the recipe and then the actions. Well, I've got to source, 50 new names of your referral. I need to do X amount of seminars. I need to engage with 3 or 4 other COI, centers of influence. Like whatever that recipe is going to be for you, right? That's critically important. But we want to really be certain on what that looks like. The other thing we're going to do, and I just want to show it to you guys so we don't miss anything here, right? So we have this. The other piece in terms of just, again, the why and what we're going to do is basically then we're going to talk about resources, right? So in other words, what resources, trainings, what do you need to bring to bear, in order to do that? We talk about secondary goals from that perspective. What are the dangers? What are the threats? What are the issues? So in other words, hey, what could derail us, right? And I'll tell you where what we see mostly inside the work is basically, hey, I don't have a great morning ritual. I get sidetracked. I forget. I stop reviewing my game plan. I get caught up in the news, the current events, the media, all the distractions in life, right? I lose my focus. And this is what happens from, I would say 90% of people by February 1st, they're off track. And we'll talk about that in the next episode, like how to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay? So we're going to come up with these nice tight 1-year goals. Okay, so we have that. Now, what's next? We did that, right? So the next element is going to be, hey, I have a belief that you are the core product. When investors or retirees or business owners, whoever your target market is, when they retain you, they're retaining you. Now, I know you may have a team around you may have a brand. Some of you may have a big organization behind you if you're at one of those wirehouses. But ultimately, it's about the man or woman they're in front of. Period. So one of the things that we're going to do is, what you're going to do is you're going to craft what we call your own personal/custom personal and professional development game plan. You're going to assign a budget, 5 to 10% of top line, and you're going to start asking yourself questions. Hey, what do I need to create the ultimate version of me? Do I need a personal trainer? Do I need a nutritionist? Do I need a business coach? Do I need a therapist? Right? Like, what do you need to learn? What shifts and changes do you need to make? Right? So you're the core product. We're going to invest back in the product, just like any other company, right? If I'm General Motors or Ford, I'm reinvesting back in my vehicles to make the next version, right? The next model, right? I'm doing that, right? If I'm a manufacturer of aircraft, hey, how do we make our engines more efficient? How do we make our electronics better, right? How do we make it more comfortable for our passengers? Well, as an advisor, you have got to make you a better you. Now, if you're coming into the game saying, oh, I like who I am, or, hey, I can't change, or you can't teach old dog new tricks, stop watching right now, because you're dead in the water. Period. This game is about betterment, being, elevating. I've always said this. I've said this for nearly 30 years now. This is the ultimate personal development business. And what I mean by that is you take you seriously, you invest in you, all things are possible inside this game. Whatever that means to you. 7-figure income, 8-figure income, whatever it means. 'Cause I've seen it, right? And it's not because somebody started off at a better school or they had better training. The way you start, you start. It's what you do with the decades inside the game that matter, right? So I don't care about where you started. What I care about is today and then moving forward. Looking backwards has no value in most cases, okay? So we do all that. Now we talk about how we're going to build. So one of the conversations, one of the modules we're going to do what we call a branding, marketing, and relational capital module. So branding, websites, LinkedIn profile, Facebook, Instagram, if that's point, whatever. Like, what is the brand, the storefront? What does it look like? Next, the marketing. What's your message? Who's it for? How do you deliver it? How often do you deliver it? Are you doing a podcast? Are you doing LinkedIn posting? Are you doing Facebook ads? What are you doing? All right, so we're going to talk all about that. What are some of the best practices that I see in the industry today? What my clients are doing to drive revenue, to drive households today. Last piece, relational capital of the module, right? So what's relational capital? Client goodwill. Most advisors, I say 90% plus, don't understand how to increase, drive, and then convert relational capital into new business. So we're going to talk about that. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to get very granular for the next 12 months to talk about, and it's right here, one of the modules, which is going to be what we call biz dev. So what's biz dev? Two things. How do we get new clients? And how do we get our current clients to do more business with us? Or in our terms, optimize them. So how are we going to drive new clients, right? Referrals from clients, COIs, we do networking, we do Facebook ads, we do seminars, we do webinars, like what are we doing, right? And then, so that's one. Then as far as like new business from current clients, what are we doing in terms of optimization, financial planning, balance sheets, education to drive more opportunity? We want 100% of the client. We don't want to share our clients with our competitors. We just don't. We want 100% of the business. That's going to be one of our core goals, one of our core focus. We want our clients all in. We want them in a true collaborative partnership, which is what we say. We don't use the word client anymore. We talk about the people that retain us as our partners, not our clients, going forward. And we need to be very clear on that. So we do all that. So what's next? You're going to come up with what we call a quarterly game plan. So we take all this entire document, which is the new version, is like 70 pages or so. And then what we have you do is boil it down into a nice, this is mine. This is actually my current Q4 of 2021. We have you distill it down to a nice 2-page game plan, which incorporates all these elements in different areas, different sectors, right? And you're going to work on that. And then that's what you're going to review each and every morning. That's what you do. And then the last 2 modules we do, you're going to come up with a weekly game plan. We have a 1-page weekly game plan builder, which is very powerful. It's the first year we're introduced it. Let me just, for those of you who are on we're doing the video thing. So this is what it looks like, right? It's nice tight 1-pager. It's in the booklet. It's also a downloadable PDF. You can kind of do it online. It's totally cool that way. And then the last thing we're going to do is have you build a powerful morning success ritual and a daily game plan. So we call it our Magellan Morning 8. There's 8-step morning ritual protocol process. And then we have our Magellan Daily 5, which is our 5-step daily protocol process. And so you can see, so think about this. So we go from where do you want to be in 10 years to what you're going to do tomorrow. All of it. Done in sequence. I've been coaching for nearly 30 years, strictly advisors. I've been doing business planning for 20 years, my 20th year. For advisors, this is the latest and greatest version. I'm here to tell you, when we did this in Fort Lauderdale back in November, the feedback was phenomenal. And there's a link here. We have a dedicated website, FABizPlan, FABIZPLAN.com. You'll see a link there where you can kind of take a look behind the scenes, what it looks like, right? Some feedback from some of our participants. And look, I can't make you do anything, so I'm not going to try. I'm just going to extend an invitation that if you want to step in to this process with me, and it's only available to early January, you're going to spend 2 months with me. You and I are going to have a 30-minute conversation. There's a lot of things we're going to do inside of this. So it's not just, hey, go get this and hope it works, but I'm going to be here to support you for the next couple of months. That's going to be your decision to whether or not you want to step in. The question you're going to ask yourself, and here's what I would have you do. And again, if you don't want to use my process, fine. Hey, no harm, no foul. Do something. Write something down. Seriously, don't go into next year, well, I'm just going to do a little bit better. That doesn't get the job done. Why do you think my clients spend 3 days? Look, 3, and we're talking about 6 to 8 hour days. We're not talking about we sit down over a cup of coffee and we blurt out some stuff on a spreadsheet and we're done. This is the most important. This is about designing your business and your life. Everything inside of our game. So I invite you to do with me. Let me be your guide, your leader, your Sherpa, if you like, in my process. If you want to do something else, totally cool. But just promise yourself this. You're going to do something. That you're just not going to show up next year and hope it happens. That you're going to have a vision, a plan. And by the way, and then I'll wrap up on this. If you're sitting there telling your clients, hey, we need to put a financial plan together or a retirement game plan or something like that, what would happen if all your clients and prospects said, hey, I'll invest in I'll pay you for a financial plan, I'll pay you for a cash flow roadmap, I'll pay you for these things, let me see your written financial plan. Let me see your written business plan. Let me see what your course is for the next 10 years. Next year, what do you have in writing? Imagine if we were to get challenged like that. How incongruent we would be. So like I said, love for you to step in it with me. If not, figure out your own game. Happy holidays. Thanks for listening and watching this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game both personally and professionally.